Hi, I'm Kevin from KG's Boot Guard, and I'd like to show you how to properly apply KG's Boot Guard to the toes of some work boots. But first, I'd like to tell you a little bit about the product. KG's Boot Guard is a tough, long-lasting brush-on-toe protection that can be applied to the toes of the work boots to prevent premature toe wear. It can also be applied to the welts and seams to protect against welding sparks, acids, and other harmful chemicals. Once fully dried, KG's Boot Guard forms a waterproof, flexible, flame-resistant, almost indestructible barrier that will not crack, peel, or flake. KG's Boot Guard is available in two colors, black and brown, will adhere to almost any surface, and can be applied to new or used footwear. Now that you've found a well-ventilated area, it's time to apply the first coat of KG's Boot Guard to the toes of your work boots. Each package of KG's Boot Guard contains a 2 or a 4.5 ounce container of KG's Boot Guard, sandpaper, and an applicator. The first step is to sand the area where KG's Boot Guard is going to be applied thoroughly with the enclosed sandpaper, making sure to take off the finish put on by the factory. Once that is done, it is time to put the first coat on. I highly recommend rubber gloves. As I mentioned earlier, KG's Boot Guard will adhere to almost any surface, and that does include skin. You could use painter's tape if you want to form a straight line, same as you would when painting. Just put some of it there. I will freehand it here. The next step is to thoroughly mix the product. There are rubber particles suspended in there, and you just want to get them thoroughly mixed in throughout the boot guard. Stir it for 10 seconds or so. Then you want to make sure that you let the excess fall off the brush, and now it's the time to apply the first coat. The first coat should be a thin but even coat on the entire area where you sanded. Just make sure to get along the welt in the front of the boot. Just do as nice straight of a line as you can. You'll be able to fill in and make your line straighter on the second coat. Something like that right there. Just a nice, thin, even coat. In between coats, you're going to want to let the boot sit for 2 to 4 hours. You can clean the applicator similar to that of cleaning a paintbrush. After about a half hour, you'll want to check along the sole of the boot to make sure the product hasn't run down onto the sole. If that happens, you can simply rub it off with a cloth or a paper towel. Okay, now it's 2 to 4 hours later. The KG's Boot Guard is thoroughly dried on the toes of your work boot after the first coat. Now we're going to put the second coat. Second coat is basically the same as the first. You're going to want to mix the product up again, same as you did before the first coat. Let the excess roll off the applicator. On the second coat, I like to put just a little bit of a thicker coat on there. This is going to be your top coat, and just run it on there a little bit thicker. But again, cover that whole area where you applied KG's Boot Guard. Get a nice, thick, even second coat. Most customers only put 2 coats on, but if you're very tough on your boots, you can put 2 to 3 coats on your boots. Put as many as you like. There's enough in the jar to do 2 to 3 pairs of boots. So you can put as many coats as you want on your boots. And there you can see I got a nice coat over the entire boot. I did get a little bit on the sole, and as I mentioned earlier, that will rub right off with the towel when it's still wet. After your final coat, you'll want to let the boot sit overnight in your garage or something like that, a place where it can dry thoroughly, and then the boot will be ready to wear the next day. Each package of KG's Boot Guard has enough to do 2 to 3 pairs of boots, but once it's open, it does need to be used in 7 days. Now that you've let the boot sit overnight, the next morning your boot will be ready to wear. KG's Boot Guard is thoroughly dried, and you can see it is a tough but yet flexible shield over the entire toe of your boot. As you can see, KG's Boot Guard is a very simple process that will greatly lengthen the life of your boots. KG's boot guard is made in the United States and comes with our satisfaction guarantee.